Today, I'm going to tell you a story about how a loving husband uncovered a heartbreaking secret and the steps he took to reclaim his life. Get ready for an emotional roller coaster. I'm Lucas, a 37-year-old doctor living in Boston. My life used to feel perfect, saving lives during the day and coming home to Grace at night. Grace, my beautiful wife, and the light of my life. We met 6 years ago in the most unexpected way. It was a chilly evening, and I was out on a date with my ex, Victoria. We were trying to rekindle something that had clearly burnt out long ago. Dinner at a fancy restaurant felt forced, and I was searching for an excuse to cut the evening short. Victoria was engrossed in her phone, and I was contemplating our failed attempts to reconnect. Then, I saw her. Grace walked in with another man, but she caught my eye immediately. Her presence was captivating. I found myself staring, unable to look away. Victoria noticed and, with an exasperated sigh, said, "I can see this isn't working. Let's not drag it out." She left with Bella, her friend, leaving me feeling awkward but relieved. Gathering my courage, I approached Grace. "Hi, I'm Lucas." I introduced myself, feeling a bit out of place but compelled to talk to her. Grace looked up, surprised but smiling. "Hi, I'm Grace. Nice to meet you, Lucas. Are you here alone?" "Well, not exactly. I was on a date, but it didn't go well," I admitted, feeling a bit sheepish. Grace chuckled. "Sounds familiar. I'm here with a friend, but I could use some better company." We started talking, and it felt like we had known each other forever. Grace shared her story about a recent breakup, and I found myself opening up about my failed relationship with Victoria. It was comforting to know someone who understood the pain of betrayal. As the evening wore on, we moved to a quieter corner of the restaurant. Continuing our conversation, Grace was easy to talk to, and I found myself laughing and sharing things I hadn't told anyone. We bonded over our mutual love for travel and our experiences in the medical field. Grace was a customer, but she had a deep appreciation for my work as a doctor. Our conversation flowed naturally. "So, how long have you been a doctor?" Grace asked, genuinely interested. "Almost 10 years now. It's demanding, but I love it," replied. "What about you? How did you get into costuming?" Grace's eyes lit up. "It started as a hobby, but I fell in love with it. Creating something from scratch and seeing it come to life is incredible. By the end of the night, it felt like something special had started." We exchanged numbers and promised to meet again. Walking back to my car, felt a sense of excitement I hadn't felt in years. Little did I know, that night was the beginning of a journey that would change my life forever. Grace and I fell in love quickly after that night. Within a year, we moved in together, and soon after, got married. Life was good, even with its challenges. Grace became my rock, especially when our attempts at IVF failed. Despite those setbacks, we were happy together. One evening, as we were settling in after a long day, I received an email from an anonymous sender. It was brief and to the point. "Grace is cheating on you. Check her phone." My heart sank, but I dismissed it as a cruel joke. Still, the seed of doubt was planted. Few days later, I was cleaning up our bedroom when I stumbled upon a journal. It wasn't hidden, just tucked away in a drawer. Curious, opened it and began to read. The entries detailed a plan to leave a man, describing a relationship that eerily mirrored ours. When Grace got home, I decided to confront her. "Hey Grace, I found this journal today," I said, holding it up. "Care to explain?" Grace glanced at the journal and laughed. "Oh, that. It's just some notes for a role I'm working on. You know how detailed I get with my character prep." I wanted to believe her, so I let it go. To ease my mind, we decided to start therapy. Our therapist, Dr. Klein, was a kind man in his late 50s. Communication and trust are the pillars of any strong relationship, he often reminded us. During one session, Grace turned to me and said, "Lucas, I'm committed to making this work. I love you, and I want us to get through this." "I love you too, Grace. I just want us to be honest with each other," I replied, feeling a glimmer of hope. For a while, things seemed to improve. We were back to our old selves, laughing and enjoying each other's company. But the doubt lingered in the back of my mind. I started noticing little things. Grace's phone always face down, her sudden late-night outings, the way she'd clear her messages. One night, while Grace was in the shower, I noticed her laptop on the kitchen counter. It was open, but now password protected. My heart raced. Why would she need to change her password? When she came out of the shower, I casually asked, "Hey, why did you change your laptop password?" Grace's expression shifted, just for a moment, before she smiled. "Just for security, you know. With all the cyber threats these days, it's better to be safe." I nodded, but my doubts grew stronger. Despite my efforts to push them aside, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I knew I had to find out the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. A few months after the password incident, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Grace's behavior became more suspicious. She started coming home late, claiming she had meetings or rehearsals. My gut told me there was more to it. One evening, I met up with David, my best friend and colleague, at our favorite bar. As we sipped our beers, I confided in him, "David, I think Grace is hiding something from me." David looked concerned. "What makes you say that?" "She's been acting strange. Late nights, changed passwords, and there was this anonymous email about her cheating." I dismissed it at first, but now, I don't know. David sighed. "That sounds rough, man. Have you tried talking to her about it?" "I have," I replied, "but she always has an excuse. I don't want to accuse her without proof, but I can't keep living with this doubt." David nodded. "I get it. Maybe you need to find out for sure, one way or another." After our talk, I decided to dig deeper. I started paying more attention to Grace's schedule and behavior. One night, when she said she had a late meeting, I decided to follow her. I felt like a fool, but I needed to know. Grace didn't go to a meeting. She drove to a quiet cafe on the other side of town. I parked a few spaces away and watched as she met a man. They hugged, and my heart sank. I snapped a few photos with my phone, feeling sick to my stomach. When Grace got home that night, I confronted her. "Grace, we need to talk." She looked up, surprised. "What's wrong?" "I know you've been meeting someone." "I followed you tonight," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Grace's face paled. "Lucas, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you've been lying to me. That you're cheating." Interrupted, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "It's not what you think," Grace said, tears welling up in her eyes. "He's just a friend. Didn't want to worry you." "A friend you need to hide from me." "Come on, Grace." "Deserve the truth," I replied, my voice breaking. Grace was silent for a moment before she finally spoke. "I'm sorry, Lucas. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely, and it just happened." The betrayal cut deep, but at least now I knew. I spent that night on the couch, unable to sleep. My mind was racing with thoughts of our past, our future, and what I needed to do next. The trust was shattered, and I knew our relationship would never be the same. The next day, I called a lawyer. It was time to take control of my life again. The morning after my confrontation with Grace, I woke up with a heavy heart. The sun streamed through the living room window, but its warmth didn't reach me. I had an appointment with the lawyer, but first, I needed to get through breakfast. Grace was already in the kitchen, a strained smile on her face. "Good morning," she said softly. "Morning," I replied, grabbing a cup of coffee. The silence between us was suffocating. I couldn't bear to look at her without feeling the weight of her betrayal. As I sat down to drink my coffee, Grace tried again. "Lucas, can we talk?" I sighed. "We talked last night. There's nothing more to say." "But there is," she insisted, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I messed up, and I want to make things right. Can we try counseling again?" "Grace, it's too late for that. You broke my trust," I said, my voice cold and detached. "I need some time to think." Later that day, I met with the lawyer, Mr. Bennett. He was an older man with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. "Lucas, I understand this is a difficult time for you. Let's discuss your options." We went over the details of our assets and the potential outcomes of a divorce. The process seemed overwhelming, but Mr. Bennett's steady guidance made it a bit more manageable. "Do you have any questions?" he asked after we finished. "Just one," I replied. "How do I get through this without losing myself?" Mr. Bennett leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "Take it one day at a time. Surround yourself with supportive friends and family. And remember, this is a process. It will take time, but you will get through it." Leaving the lawyer's office, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. The path ahead was uncertain, but at least I had a plan. That evening, I called David. "Hey man, can we meet up?" I asked. "I could really use a friend right now." David agreed immediately. We met at the same bar, but this time, I felt like a different person. As we sat down, David looked at me with concern. "How are you holding up?" "It's tough," I admitted. "I met with a lawyer today. It's really happening." David nodded. "I'm here for you, Lucas. Whatever you need." "Thanks," I said, feeling a bit of the weight lift. "I appreciate it. I just need to figure out how to move forward." "You will," David replied. "One step at a time." That night, I returned home to find Grace waiting for me. "Lucas, I want you to know that I'm truly sorry. Wish I could take it all back." I looked at her, seeing the pain in her eyes. "I know you are, Grace, but sorry isn't enough to fix this. I need time to heal." As I headed to the spare bedroom, I felt a sense of resolve. The road ahead would be difficult, but I was determined to find my way through it. With the support of my friends and the guidance of my lawyer, I knew I could start to rebuild my life, one day at a time. 3 months had passed since I filed for divorce. It was a surreal time, filled with emotional highs and lows, but I was beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I moved into a small apartment downtown, a fresh start away from the memories that haunted our old home. One evening, I sat on my couch, scrolling through my phone. David's text popped up. "Up for a drink tonight? You need a break?" I replied, "Sure, meet you at the usual place." At the bar, David greeted me with a hug. "How are you holding up, man?" "Better," I said, smiling. "It feels good to have a place of my own." David nodded. "You seem lighter. It's good to see." As we sat down, he asked, "Have you thought about dating again?" I laughed. "Not really. I'm just focusing on myself right now." "That's fair," David said, clinking his glass against mine. "To new beginnings." The next day, I had an appointment with my therapist, Dr. Collins. She had been a great help during this process. "How have you been, Lucas?" she asked, her voice calm and reassuring. "I'm doing better," I said. "I still have moments where it hits me, but I'm learning to cope." "That's progress," Dr. Collins said. "Remember, healing is not linear. It's okay to have setbacks." As our session ended, she asked, "Have you considered any new hobbies or activities to help fill your time?" "Actually, I've started taking cooking classes," I replied. "It's something I've always wanted to do." "That's wonderful," she said. "It's important to find joy in new things." That evening, I tried a new recipe I learned in class. As I cooked, I felt a sense of peace. It was a small victory, but it mattered. Later, I called my parents to check in. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad," I said. "Lucas, how are you?" my mom asked, concern in her voice. "I'm good, actually," I said. "I'm starting to find my footing." "We're proud of you, son," my dad said. "It takes strength to move forward." "Thanks, Dad," I said, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in a while. As I hung up, I realized how far I'd come. The pain of Grace's betrayal was still there, but it no longer defined me. I was reclaiming my life, one day at a time. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel, like and share your thoughts. Your support means the world to us.